What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you're new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you don't miss any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now, for this video, we're going to be diving into King in Black, Return of the Valkyries, issue number 4. Now, this will be closing out Return of the Valkyries. I thought that there was going to be 5 issues, maybe they canceled it and I didn't realize it, and so this issue is going to leave a lot of questions up in the air, and we're going to talk about that after we get towards the end. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with the King in Black line, go ahead and check out the link in my description as well as the top of this video. It'll get you completely caught up on everything King in Black related. Now, this is written by Jason Aaron and Torun Grunbeck. Artist is Nina Vakuva, and colorist is Tamara Bonvillain. Now, where we last left off with our Valkyries, we had newly freed Valkyrie going after her axe. Jane had joined forces with Dani Moonstar, and they were trying to perform some kind of ritual. A ritual to sever Noel's connection to the Celestial. Sever his connection to the sword. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Now, this picks us up in New York. And we see Noel with his sword and the thread going around it, glowing gold. Now, they're doing their best to try to sever this connection. The connection between Noel's Necro Sword and the Headless Celestial. Because the Celestial kind of collects souls and feeds the Necro Sword. And so they're kind of trying to take this power away from Noel. And this is where we see Jane Foster and Dani Moonstar in the space between worlds. And it's weird for them, because it's kind of like looking through the universe from the eyes of a god. You can feel everything and see everything. They can feel the needle as it moves through the ever and all. Now, right now, Jane Foster is worried that they're not going to be able to have enough time to do what needs to be done. Because we see the Celestial, the Headless Celestial, holding the Necro Sword. A giant shadow of a sword really just appearing in the Celestial's hand. Now, Jane needs to buy them some time. So she tells Dani to hold on to the thread because she's going to go take care of this. And she takes her shield and charges head first. As the Celestial brings the sword clashing down, Jane Foster is able to stop it, dead in its tracks, but not without using a great amount of effort. And this is when we see the arrival of Valkyrie, come flying in, wielding her axe, taking chunks out of the Celestial. Now, Dani, her, and Jane are all able to regroup, and they're all super thankful that she's here, and this is when the three charge in together, only to see Jane Foster kind of taken over by the Celestial. And inside the Celestial, Jane Foster is seeing a hallucination from her childhood, but she's recognizing that this isn't real, because small little things are wrong, out of place. Little details that they don't know are significant, but very much are. And what's happening here is the Celestial, Noel, is trying to get Jane to join them. And they bait her by bringing in her dead son, who died when he was 8 years old. And they try telling her, if you join us, if you'll be a part of us, we can give you your son back. We can give you everything back. And as Jane talks to her son, she realizes that this isn't real, that this isn't him, and they could never actually fill or create something that once filled such a big part of her heart. Now, on the outside, things are looking rough. We have Dani Moonstar and the Valkyrie doing their best to try to hold off this Celestial, this nullified Celestial. And while they're doing their best, they hear a call. And inside the Celestial, Jane Foster is having such a hard time leaving this place because her son is here. And while she does enjoy this time, she knows it's not real. And she can never recreate who her son was. Noel could never recreate that for her. No one can recreate that for her. Not even the god named Noel. And then we see the return of the Valkyries as the army of Valkyries comes flying in, ready to do battle, letting them know that Jane Foster is trapped inside the Celestial. They make their way trying to get inside. And they also try to complete the ritual of severing the sword. And as the Valkyries pull the thread, connecting the Necro Sword to the dead, pulling it from the fabric of reality, Noel feels the loss and vows that gods are going to suffer for all of this. And with that, we see the connection break and the Celestial begins to fall and all the Valkyries are doing their best to bring this thing down to nothingness. Now, the army of Valhalla, they're bringing this thing down, and they tell Jane that she needs to get out of there as fast as possible because it's broken open and they can see her now. And Jane is telling it that it needs to let go of all the prisoners and let them pass, because it will determine where it goes next. And so this is the end, but it's also the beginning. The next. Through the haze, the Valkyries see fragments of lives led and stories told. Stories finished. And this is when we see Century telling Jane not to feel bad. And Jane says, you know, how am I not supposed to feel at least sorry? You know, I was supposed to protect your soul. But Century, he feels whole again. Now that this is broken out, Century is back. Or at least that is what is appearing to happen. And so the Valkyries being able to take down the Celestial and sever the tie from the Necro Sword freed all of these souls, and we see Century returning back to life. And so with this battle being won, there is only one thing left to do for the army of Valhalla, and that is to protect Midgard. And right now it is under attack, and they need all the help that they can get. And that will be the end of this issue. So let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I wasn't thrilled with this one. I don't know if they cut out a whole ending issue here or not, but they kind of really downplayed Century coming back. Like, he was a super powerful individual that got taken down by Noel, and they're just kind of like, oh, yeah, Century, he's here. Jane said sorry, like, that's the extent of what we really get, and then he's in the background, like, we don't really see him much. But I can only assume that the Century has come back to life. At least that's my thoughts. Maybe you guys have a different opinion on what just happened there. And now they've also been able to sever the Necro Sword from Noel. And so as we get into King in Black issue number 5, it's going to look like a really bad fight when it comes to being Noel right now. Everything is stacked against him. Everything has been building up with multiple individuals from all over the Marvel Universe coming in and getting ready to give this guy what for. That's, you know, Ghost Rider, Captain Universe, we have Scream out there, plus everything that, you know, all of the X-Men and everything like that are doing. So yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't yet, be sure to like this channel, subscribe to this channel, hit that notification bell, and until the next breakdown.